Hello, everyone, and welcome to Market Pulse with NFT18, where we analyze and break down the latest market trends with Zoup, co-founder of NONFUNGIBLE and the new advanced analytics studio NFT18. Zoup, my man, thank you so much for joining us once again today.
Hey man, thank you for the invitation once again. There's so much to review this week. I'm so excited.
Now, Zoup, I gotta say, typically we have a pretty regular cadence of when we do this during the month, but it just so happened to work out. You pushed it off a couple of days, and we are going live the day after the ETF rumors set the market absolutely flying. So I don't know if this was serendipitous or you had a little inside track, but either way, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know either. I have nothing to do with the ETF rumor, but the thing is that, yeah, that's a perfect timing.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I love it. So much to talk about, a lot going on with the market on the macro in the NFT market as well. Before we get into that, a little brief background on yourself, if you could, for everyone tuning in for the first time.
Of course. Yep. So yeah, Gauthier is a Benja, but I'm better known as Zoup. So I'm into NFT market research since 2018. Actually, I think I'm the first guy to have published market research about the Web3 and NFT space. So yeah, I've created nonfungible.com in April 2018, and more recently, I'm now basically doing my consulting and market research and advisory through NFT18. So I'm not selling NFTs. I'm basically helping everyone understand what's going on in that space.
Yeah, basically a giga brain in the space with longevity and history, right? We're talking 6-7 years specifically of doing research on NFTs and Web3, let alone what's going to happen with the market and what's been going on with crypto and whatnot. So really appreciate the context and the insight that you can bring. Man, there's a lot. First of all, before we hop in, I know that you've been kind of gallivanting around to different conferences and whatnot over the past couple of months, between NFT NYC, and then I think you went to a couple of afterwards. Where have you been?
Yeah, so I don't remember when was the last session we had. Was it before or after NFT NYC?
I think it was just after.
Yeah, right after. So yeah, it's a shame I'm really not that active on Twitter, but so yeah, I've been to NFT NYC, which was the big B2B conference. Okay, it was fun, but right after I've been to NFT Tallinn. If you can just click on these pictures, honestly, that was basically how you went to the main stage of NFT Tallinn, the banana conf. So that's a super old foundry or something like that. That's a mega factory. And they've just rebuilt everything, readapted the whole thing. So that's the core of the machine, like the chimney, massive chimney in the middle. And everyone, all the big speakers were speaking just next to this. And to be honest, I truly loved going to the banana conf to NFT Tallinn. I know it sounds like a board ape event. It's not a board ape event. But the thing is that it's a quite small conference because, not everyone is going to Estonia, to Tallinn. That's a fact. And I really got the vibe of the early days of NFT space, in 2018, 2019, and so on, when you had true passionate people that are not there just for the hype, or not there because there is stuff to sell, but really long-term builders, people that are really passionate about what they do. And that's definitely the vibe you got in Baltic countries. So I strongly recommend to go there.
Right. And then, I see pictures of some of these more intimate conferences. Reminds me more of a hackathon, right? People hands-on, and less like a corporate conference, which is a lot of what NFT NYC and NFT LA and these types of things, or Outer Edge or whatever, have turned into. So it's good to see, through the bear, people building, getting back to their roots. And really, when you talk to people that go to all of them, many say that Lisbon is one of their favorite conferences, right? NFC is because of that fact, right? It's more intimate, more of a focus on crypto art and a lot of the artists that were there in the space and builders from that time. And even though it's smaller in scale, a lot of people say it's one of their favorite events because of that. I know that's coming up in just days, right?
Actually, next week, yeah. So my flight is on Sunday, and I will basically be there for the whole week next week until Friday. Friday, yeah. But you know what? Lisbon is a bit different. It's definitely an event made by passionate people, and I basically co-organized the first edition. Now I definitely step back from that. But this conference is made by passionate people, and it's really made by Web3 people for Web3 people. It's nothing like a, let's say, traditional conference like a generic one. It's really, there is a soul in this conference, but it's quite big. So you may not find this kind of small family vibe because there's so many people. I don't know how many, but a couple of thousands. In conferences like Tallinn, it was something like 900, maybe 1,000 people total. So it's obvious that you will basically meet everyone, and potentially you will be talking to almost everyone. That you really have this kind of small vibe. It's almost a meetup. Lisbon is just the in between of small, like family-sized events, and of course, as NFTs became that massive, and now you have a couple of thousand people, and you have different conferences. You have the main non-fungible conference, you have the meme con, you have the ordinal something. So a lot of different conferences at the same time.
Right, right. Well, not that people really need a reason to go visit Portugal, but certainly I think a lot of people take advantage of that as well. We were just joking before here. We had a slight delay because it's the first heat wave where I'm at up here in the northeast of the United States. And so everybody put on their AC and, the power grid didn't like it. Nonetheless, we are here. So you're traveling all these places. You're heading to Lisbon soon. What is your take on the current market, man? Like, what do you when you look at all the different odds and ends and how things are moving, if you could encapsulate that in a brief, how would you describe it? If someone's externally saying, hey, man, what's going on with the NFT market, and they're not in this every day, what would be your succinct message to them?
I would say that we've been wrong because we were expecting some sort of internal trends between segments. For example, we were expecting like some sort of a global, let's say, bull run around gaming and maybe art becoming massive, collectibles basically dying. And it's a bit different. Of course, some segments are maybe slightly stronger than others, but we have seen a completely different kind of, let's say, small bull run between inside the global market. And we have more runs on specific chains. So for a couple of weeks, months, we had something on ordinals, and you had to go to ordinals. Then rooms was the way to go. Now it sounds like it's more basically on Blast. I don't know for how long. And if you look at Blast, you're on Slam, yeah. If you look at Blast, we have something like a minus 50% activity. So it's really like everyone is chasing the new shiny thing, and it's changing every month, every 2 months. So I would say it's a super complex period to launch a project, because if you follow the global hype right now, you should be on Blast. For how long, I don't know. It may basically disappear in like 2 months from now. If you follow the trend of like 2 months ago, you have to be on Beacon Ordinals. It sounds like it's dead.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of, some people characterize it as PvP, right? Like they're going, the same traders. We don't have a lot of new retail yet yet. A lot of headlines, and maybe there's a magic number, right? I'm guessing. I'm throwing a dart. There's no analysis or reason for this, but maybe if we hit 100K on Bitcoin, that's a level that mainstream media would pay a lot of attention to and get your buddies in. Who knows? They may still be so burned, and the narrative could be so bad on NFTs we don't see that inflow. But
Yeah.
if something like that happens, maybe there's new traders. Right now, it's the same people looking for what's most opportunistic, right? And I saw an interesting discussion. People were saying that, for a long time, it was what utility could you provide? How can you give people yield or whatever to get them to be sticky, right? You keep giving them value. You're going to give them an airdrop or reward to get them sticky and to stay with your protocol, your chain, your product, your NFT, whatever.
Yeah.
And instead, it's so ubiquitous. There's so much of it that instead people they're being trained to just, max harvest, get as much as they can, and go to the next chain, the next platform. People that are there for that purpose, right? So we're talking about the NFT market as well, and there's a lot of different ways people participate. Obviously, collecting art that they love, things they think have long-term value, but there's a lot of speculative when you look at volume.
Of course.
Because volume, and I like to remind people, you got to remember that volume means something trades hands. It could be the same one item going back and forth 5 times in a day, right? And that could add up to $100,000, but it's a it's a $20,000 item. That's different than people buying something and holding it. So that dollar volume is driven a lot of times by the speculative action. And right now, people are being trained, go from here to there to there. And like you said, right now, blast gold farming. There's been delays on the distribution, and that's impacted it a little bit. And who knows how sticky that is? I know I have my opinion. I'm sure you have yours too.
Yeah, you know what? I try to see the positive in all these things. I'm so old in that space, and I've seen so many different phases that I see that as some sort of a learning curve, learning phase. What is the best infrastructure? So basically, what is happening right now is that all this community of traders, DJs, call them as you want, but all these people, and let's be honest, that's always the same group, always, and basically just moving from a project to another one, to a chain to another one. But these guys, they basically test the limit. They've tested the limit of Ethereum. They tested the limit of collectibles. They've tested the limit of ordinals and now of Blast. But I feel like after all this kind of testing process, we may see some improvements. And some chains may disappear. Some chains may be a perfect fit for some certain use case. But that's a good way as well for all the creators to consider ordinals, to consider Blast. And I've always got this image of when you put sand, you create a castle of sand. There's so much sand just going on the floor, but at the end, you're building something. And that's what I see with these people moving from a chain to another one. There is something that is happening. And maybe 5% of the creators will stay on ordinals. Maybe 2% of the creators will stay on Blast because that's a perfect fit for them.
Right.
And yeah,
it's like how I used to try to be athletic and play basketball. I said, I'm going to take this attribute from this player. I'm going to try to learn this move from that player, and then try to do my best, which is pretty sad right now. So don't take me on the court when you meet me at the next conference, Zoup. It'll be embarrassing. But you mentioned a couple of things that I wanted to follow up on. Ordinals at one point booming, right? It's exciting. It's new. A lot of action in it. A lot of people got involved in it. Perhaps some that weren't as involved in Ethereum NFTs or lapsed got involved in it. There was a narrative that, hey, the volume dried up. Ordinals are dead. That was the discussion at some point last year. And then they had a resurgence. Now, with that resurgence came after it, I think, the run up for Runes as well. Runes was another catalyst. But here we are again after the Runes launch. So, Runes launched, and I think a lot of people are a little bit disappointed with the volume and the market caps, and based on some threats
Runes
of
collapsed.
some threats of seppuku and other things. But either way, like that volume fell off. Ordinals, is less than it was as well. But we've already had that discussion. Does this have another cyclical resurgence? Because we've already ordinals were already written off as dead before.
I'm sorry.
People had already written off ordinals as dead before, and they came back.
But just look at that. Just don't move from this screen if you. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'll go back to runes. Yep.
I mean, just look at this. That's a perfect example. If you just look at the top 100. So ZZZZZ, 3U, I don't know what it is. Dog go to the moon. Jesus rune. Why not? Poops world peace. Epic, 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 epic. I mean, that's basically why these kind of things go up and down so fast. It's because we are exactly at that stage of what we've seen with collectibles. It takes time to establish a technology. Runes is a piece of a Web3 technology. NFTs and what we've seen with ERC-721 on Ethereum, that's another piece. But when people are lazy, and people are lazy, they just go there, consider that the technology is a way to make money fast. And when you have this mindset, you create this. And that's exactly what we've seen with all these stupid animals as NFTs on Ethereum. And when you look at runes, that's exactly the same process, but faster. Because people have learned. All the people that got screwed basically on Ethereum and that were like, okay, I bought the crazy, stupid panda something, they lost money after a couple of weeks or months. And now they go to runes and they discover that, oh, we get the exact same kind of things. Maybe I can basically make money for like a week or 2 days or 2 hours. So the cycle are exactly the same, but just faster.
Yeah.
Because it's a smaller piece of tech.
There are some specific purposes and utility for some of these, right, that I know of offhand, but I may have a little bit of bias in trying to retrofit it and make it make sense. The tech isn't as fleshed out as it is. It's not like you can easily go to an exchange. You have to buy in batches if you want to buy and things like that. So like there's other stuff happening here, but a point brought up on the Discord right now, Mongoose mentions that people typically rotate capital off of wins, right? Like they have a run up on Ethereum and maybe then, post ETF that gives people more wins and capital to go spend on ETH NFTs. And we've seen a resurgence in ETH volume of NFTs in the last day. I mean, that's not a lot of data, but either way, he's saying that like, hey, Bitcoin hasn't had the same crazy run up where people would have excess capital, although, we're going from whatever we were 16 or 30 to 70 is pretty big, but let's just say, it was gradual. So if this had a huge upswing, if we had some God candles and went to 100K within like a week, 2 weeks, do you think that the Bitcoin ecosystem, because the thesis I've heard is when people make those gains, then they're going to go look to spend it and to acquire things for status. Do you think that's going to happen on the Bitcoin ecosystem like it happens with Ethereum? I question this myself personally. I can see it both ways, but my own bias is I use Ethereum. It's a utility currency for me to buy, to spend, to do things in the ecosystem of Web3. I'm so trained that if I get sats, I try to stack them. I want to keep and accumulate Bitcoin, but I'm not the regular ordinals, consumer.
I think it's something that is deeply inscribed into human beings. We love once we get money, when we get the fund, even in traditional markets. Once we get the fund, we collect art, we got the luxury car or stuff like that are basically social proof. That's not new, and we have the exact same system on blockchains. The tricky thing here is that everyone is trying to have this storytelling of just look, I have the first project, I'm so exclusive because of blah blah blah. I am the social proof. My project is the ultimate social proof. The real one, in my opinion, is CryptoPunks, and of course, in some consideration, the rare pepes, because they have been done, crafted before even it was hype. It was the real original social proof of I've been there at the right time. But now all these projects that you see are just like wannabe social proof. And so even for ordinary people, when you are overwhelmed with this kind of storytelling around like, oh, this project, this is the FHU is using the Satoshi #1 from this blog, blah, blah, blah. So that's the social proof. What we've seen on ordinals is that they've found dozens of ways to tell you that this project, this asset is the ultimate social proof. So I think most of them are basically getting bored of this kind of pitch.
Interesting. I know a lot of people are waiting for that capital to rotate back around. I would assume if the market stayed, where it is, which it's not, it's gonna move probably, right? Probably higher, but who knows? That there'll be an attention swing back to ordinals in a big way at some point. There'll be a catalyst for that as well, right? Until we get new retail in. But you did mention two things I wanted to talk about. Number one, shout out to Rare Pepes, Wes Hazard, our head of art, has been on us to say we had an exercise over the past week. We said, hey, look, ETH might move soon. If you had a tight budget and you were like, these are things I need to make moves on and get now before things go exponentially higher, what should we get? He threw out Rare Pepes. And granted, I don't know a ton about Rare Pepes. Some people in our community do. And maybe you could school us on another episode about the dankness, because he told me that's how I have to pick which one I'm going to grab, right? So Rare Pepper is definitely up there. And then CryptoPunks, as you know, a bit of controversy yesterday with their curated drop with an artist they had in residence. So that's a more of a cultural thing we'll discuss later on in Natively Digital. But from a monetary perspective right now, I think the floor for punks, 35, 36 ETH. Historically, about 36 ETH as the lowest price punk available. At that rate, are you a buyer, Zoup? If you had the ETH available, is this an opportune time to grab a crypto punk?
I would definitely. I'm personally, and once again, no financial advice, of course, but I personally consider punks as like the Bitcoin of NFTs. Like, it's something that you should get for your kids, for your grandkids, or something like that. In 2 generations, it's something that is already historical and will be even more historical in 20 years. So yeah,
well, go ahead.
If I had the money, I would definitely get a couple of them.
Oh, a couple. Yeah, a couple. So 30, you think this rate right here, 36 ETH, that's a good price as opposed to waiting until the next bear or, later on in the cycle?
It's hard to say. It may go definitely lower. I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, if you look at midterm, what may happen, but absolutely no guarantee, is that we may have the alt season maybe coming around the corner. So we may see everything going up and maybe the floor going to, I don't know, like 60 ETH and maybe ETH going to like 5 or 6,000, whatever. I don't know. So we may see an increase in the next few months. After that, obviously, we'll have a new cycle. So, of course, new bear market and so on. So potentially, we may see punks at like 20 ETH, 15 ETH. I don't know. I don't think that will go that low, but it will most likely go any lower in the near future. I don't know when, but if you look at like 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, my personal vision is that it's something that will not be forgotten.
Yeah, I think it's a legacy piece, right? Hold on to it for possibly ever and put that in your will to be sure it's taken care of or whatever. If you really believe in digital art and the provenance and historic nature of CryptoPunks for this space. On the macro market side, we've seen a lot of action on GameFi. I think just because we play a lot of games here, Whale Shark is heavy into games right now, playing a lot. We're seeing a lot of big spending and a lot of VC action as well, quite honestly. Coming into GameFi right now, a lot of token drops being associated with it. There's almost every team is dropping a token. So there's a lot of yield associated with the value there for the assets. We've also seen over the past month, especially, but past quarter, but the past month, there was a big run up since we last talked on Xcopy. Xcopies were going for higher and higher rate. I'm proud to say that we had our first purchase with the Whale Vault in quite some time to just get us active on this DECA leaderboard here. So Whale is the #1 collector of all Xcopy assets from like a scoring perspective, right? It's like how OG the piece is and how long you've had it or whatever. So that's a pretty cool feather in the hat that we got there.
I'm
but
not
with
surprised.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say like if there's one artist, if you were going to invest in that's like meaningful to the space, it would be X, right? And there's a lot, but that's one of the most commonly known. Love to hear your thoughts on other artists there. But before I get to that, I wanted to ask you about Gen Art. And the reason I ask is, a lot of people were saying, hey, Bull Run might be coming. Let me get an Xcopy. Obviously, Xcopy, one of one OG Xcopy is a lot of money for most people. However, there's been discussion lately about Gen Art and saying, look, you can get squiggles for around 5 ETH right now. There's obviously still reverence for Fidenzas and even some art blocks, curated stuff, and some different collections. There's a lot of value there to be had, and a lot of people discussing about hopping in and seeing what they could get to build out a collection of Gen Art right now with where the market is.
Yeah. So that's a really good transition, actually. So do you mind sharing my screen?
Sure.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. Because actually, we just finished a report about generative art. And to be completely transparent with you, I'm not the one that basically wrote that report. So that's basically people from my team, including someone called Abundance Art, who is deeply involved into generative art forever. And so this report, so let me share it with you, obviously, as usual, completely free and available on our website. But basically, you'll have a lot of decryption. So it's not like one of our traditional reports, which is super heavy into data. This one is way more into what is at stake, what are the main trends, what is generative art, what is on-chain generative art, and so on. And we try to basically create a deep link between the foundation, the historical roots of generative art and what we've seen on chain. So, of course, you'll have a lot of concrete metrics about generative art since the really beginning, 2018, until now. So until April 2024. And on the other end, we have, so I will not spoil all the discoveries. I will let you discover that. But some of the things that I find really interesting and that not that many people have done this research is to compare what existed before and what we have today. And if you look at Autoglyph, that's definitely super inspired by what the Ramal now did before. And that's really interesting to see that, guys, this is worth millions. An artwork from Ramal now is like $7,000 or $10,000. So it's crazy to see the difference in terms of valuation between the foundation, historic foundation, like this is the CryptoPunks of Gen Art, and what we have today with Autoglyphs, for example. The valuation has nothing to see. So I strongly recommend you to have a look at that just to understand what's going on and just realize that, let's be honest, we just try to reinvent the wheel and we just put super high valuation on something which is at some point not that new, but which is just, it's a brand new way to make that more mainstream and to bring more visibility to generative art.
I talked before about, hey, are some people in discovery mode or trying to do some NFT archaeology to prepare for
Mhm.
the bull run? And you talked to me about Dada art and people that were trying to accumulate that. Obviously, we have, Gen art as well. Do you feel the same way there? Like that's a value people are going after, and is that something you yourself are interested in?
To be honest, yes, I'm definitely into and that's a personal conviction. Once again, no financial
Right.
advice, but I feel like what has been the roots is definitely more valuable because what you've seen after is inspired by this. So one day, I feel like people will realize that, oh God, this is true, this is historical. So yeah, I feel like all the big collectors right now, they are looking for this kind of super old, how to get you. It's a matter of culture. It's not a matter of can you pay for it. It's not about being wealthy. It's about having the knowledge, having the culture, the network to find this kind of gem. That's a real challenge today.
Yeah, I mean, there's some discussion about Gen Art saying that, hey, a lot of it was just benefited from the hype cycle of 2021, and people were trying to, pay exorbitant fees for things.
Oh,
But there are some incredible artists in there too that did work. You just have to, do a little research and dig and see what resonates with you and
mhm.
understand some of the dynamics. So this report is awesome. I'm one of those people, much like with the dankness, I got to get schooled on for my rare Pepes. I need to learn a little bit more about my Gen Art and flesh that out. So I think you said this will go live tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. I mean, actually, you can already get the report on the website. I just noticed a small bug, but you can get the report from NFT18.com for free. But tomorrow we'll basically we'll start communicating around it.
Okay, very cool. So you can see that on Twitter. If people don't follow NFT18, and you can see when that updates. If not, you can pop over to the website, and I'm sure Zoup may put a post up in between his cool pictures of places that he's going. Maybe at a pool party in Lisbon. I don't know. Take some time out. Keep us updated with some tweets, my man, or
Yeah,
X's. Well, I don't know
sorry.
what posts. What,
I,
what am I supposed to call these things?
I'm so bad at communicating on social media.
Yeah, no, I am too. I tell people my socials are light, but my Discord is heavy. You did a search for how many comments I'm making in Discord. You're like, this guy's, I don't know where he has enough time. So I know you got to run. Any other thoughts on the market before we head out? I do have one question from the community I want to run by you.
Sure.
They're asking, will NFTs keep up with cryptocurrencies? And I think there's always a lag, but I'll flip that over to you. Where do you think we see the tail whipsaw, right? People make a lot of money here with the ETF, with BTC run up or whatever. When do you think we start to see significant volume come back into NFTs?
I think it will be gradual. That's my global feeling. I don't think that we'll have anything like a massive bull market, like people at 69 million and then everyone aping everything. I feel like um, we will have some sort of weak signals here and there at the beginning of the new bull market. It's probably around gaming, I think so. We art has always been there, but I'm quite bullish around gaming and some kind of funny utilities. Maybe fashion could be one with what we've seen with merch. And I feel like more and more traditional industries will try stuff, will experiment, and at some point, one project, like maybe something from Ubisoft or something like that, will be a massive success, and everyone will be like, "Oh, okay, that's cool, that's new. What is it? Oh, NFTs. Oh, I remember that technology." And I think the new bull run may arrive this way.
Yeah, gaming is definitely a Trojan horse. We just need someone to get the messaging right, right? There's
Exactly.
so much narrative on what's negative about NFTs. And I think we could take a page out of Apple's playbook, focus on the narrative and what positive it brings, the experience instead of the tech. And I think we'll get there.
Yeah,
Zoop,
definitely.
I get a bunch of questions from the community that we didn't get to, and I know you got to run. So I may have to hound you on Discord and then share them or save them for next time. We'll have to get up sooner than 5 weeks next time. There's too much going on, my man.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm fine. I mean, I will be in Lisbon next week. I don't know if anyone plans to be there, but I would be really happy to meet anyone from the community.
Super dope. Well, you have a great time. Can't wait to hear about it and looking forward to that report tomorrow. Thanks as always.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.